Have you ever felt it? That quiet, persistent ache that lives just beneath the surface of your smile. It's not a loud, dramatic pain. It's a hum, a low-frequency exhaustion that comes from a life spent tilting your head just so, softening your voice, trimming the edges of your own soul to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold you. You feel it after a long day of meetings where you nodded and agreed, when inside you were screaming. You feel it at family gatherings, playing a role you were assigned some 30 years ago, a character whose costume has grown unbearably tight. You feel it when you say yes to a request that feels like a tiny theft of your life force, but saying no feels like an impossible, cataclysmic act of rebellion. You feel it when you say yes to a request that feels like a tiny theft of your life force, but saying no feels like an impossible, cataclysmic act of rebellion. There is a peculiar hollowness that comes from a life of 1,000 small surrenders. You look in the mirror and see a perfectly reasonable, functional person. You have a job, responsibilities, people who depend on you. By all external measures, the game is being played correctly. But inside, there's a ghost at the banquet, a silent witness to a life being lived for everyone but the one living it. And the most confusing part is the guilt that comes with this feeling. You tell yourself you are being selfish, ungrateful, dramatic. You have so much to be thankful for. And yet, the hum continues. That deep, resonant feeling that you are a stranger in your own story. But what if I were to tell you that this feeling, this profound exhaustion, this sense of being an imposter in your own life, is not a symptom of your brokenness? What if it is, in fact, the first, faint, beautiful signal that you are beginning to heal? What if that ache is not the problem, but the cure? Imagine a person who has been asleep for 40 years and for the first time feels the pins and needles of a limb waking up. The sensation is uncomfortable, even painful, but it is the unmistakable sign of life returning. Your fatigue is not a failure of your spirit. It is the holy exhaustion that comes from carrying the weight of 100 false selves. And that feeling that you are about to disappoint someone? That is not a sign of your impending failure. It is the tremor of your own truth, preparing to break the surface. You are not falling apart. You are molting. You are shedding a skin that was suffocating you, and it is the most natural, necessary, and courageous thing a human being can do. You see, from the moment we are born, we are enrolled in a vast and intricate school of performance. The curriculum is simple. Learn the rules, play your part, and you will receive pellets of approval. It begins with our parents. A smile earns a smile back. A cry might earn a moment of frustration. We learn with the astonishing intelligence of a creature built for survival to calibrate our own being for maximum reward and minimum punishment. We become the good child, the smart one, the peacemaker. We learn that our authentic, unfiltered self is a risky proposition. It is too loud, too quiet, too sensitive, too much. So we begin to create a representative, an ambassador, a carefully constructed persona that can navigate the treacherous currents of family, school, and society. This ambassador is a masterpiece of engineering. It knows just what to say. It laughs at the right jokes. It hides inconvenient emotions. It is reliable, predictable, and, above all, safe. And the world rewards this ambassador handsomely. It gets the job, it gets the partner, it gets invited to the parties. The collective, the grand social organism, loves predictability. It functions on the unspoken agreement that we will all uphold the grand illusion. The illusion that we are our job titles, our bank accounts, our marital status, our filtered photographs. The entire edifice of civilization is built on this play. We are all actors who have been on stage for so long that we have forgotten we are wearing costumes. We have mistaken the script for our own thoughts. Your pain, your deep and unsettling weariness comes from a simple, terrifying realization that has begun to dawn in the quietest corners of your mind. You are forgetting your real lines. You are beginning to see the flickering stage lights, the cardboard sets, the other actors whispering their real feelings in the wings. Your exhaustion is not a personal failing. It is the natural, biological response of a conscious being to an insane environment. It is the immense metabolic cost of pretending to care about things you don't, pretending to be fine when you are not. Pretending that the game everyone is playing with such ferocious seriousness is anything more than a game. You are like a person who has suddenly developed perfect hearing in a world of constant, deafening static. The problem isn't your hearing. The problem is the noise. Your soul is tired. It is tired of the performance. It is tired of holding the mask in place, of remembering which voice to use with which person, of constantly calculating the emotional calculus of every interaction. It is a soul that is simply, profoundly, ready to go home. And this is where the great turning point occurs. This is the moment you begin, perhaps unconsciously at first, to choose yourself. And the first sign is that you start to feel profoundly selfish. This is the first test, the first gatekeeper of your own liberation. The word selfish is the primary weapon the collective uses to keep its actors in line. From our earliest days, we are taught that selflessness is the highest virtue, to put others first, to be accommodating, to be a team player. And there is beauty in that, of course, but a profound distortion has occurred. We have confused selflessness with self-annihilation. We have been taught that to have needs is to be needy. To have boundaries is to be difficult. To have a desire of one's own is to be selfish. But let us look at this word, selfish. The game defines it as wanting something for yourself. But the deeper truth is this: true selfishness is the act of demanding that another person live their life for your sake. True selfishness is expecting your partner to suppress their dreams to support yours. It is expecting your children to fulfill the ambitions you never could. It is expecting your friends to be your unpaid therapists, to always be available, to never have needs of their own that conflict with yours. The great paradox is that the people pleaser, the one who lives in a state of constant, anxious self-sacrifice, is often surrounded by the truly selfish, because that is the ecosystem they create. They attract those who are comfortable with taking. When you finally begin to choose yourself, you are not becoming selfish. You are becoming sovereign. You are declaring that the territory of your own mind, your own body, your own time is a sacred space. You are not building a wall to keep the world out. You are simply putting a gate in the fence and realizing for the first time that you are the one who gets to decide who comes in. You are reclaiming your no. A no that is not an act of aggression, but an act of profound self-respect. It is a no that is not followed by a lengthy, apologetic explanation. It is a complete sentence. And when you first say it, it will feel like a bomb has gone off in the quiet theater of your life. But then, a silence will follow. And in that silence, you will feel something new. Not the warmth of another person's approval, but the solid, unshakable ground of your own integrity. You are like a tree. A tree does not grow its roots deep and its branches high for the benefit of the other trees in the forest. It grows because that is its nature. It reaches for the sun because it must. In the act of fulfilling its own nature, it provides shade, it creates oxygen, it contributes to the entire ecosystem. It does not contribute by trying to be a rock or a river. It contributes by being the most magnificent tree it can be. Your selfishness is you finally reaching for your own sun. Then the second thing that happens is that you begin to lose people. And this is the part that feels like a death. It is a deep, primal loneliness. The phone stops ringing as often. The invitations dwindle. The people who you thought were your pillars, your constants, begin to drift away. There is a confusion, a panic. You think, I have made a terrible mistake. I have become unlovable. I have pushed everyone away. But you must look closer. You must look with the clear eyes you are just now beginning to open. You are not losing friends. You are shedding an audience. Think of it. The people in your life, many of them, not all, but many, were not in a relationship with you. They were in a relationship with the role you played. They were in a relationship with the listener who never interrupted, the friend who was always available, the partner who never made demands, the child who never disappointed. They were in love with the reflection of themselves they saw in your accommodating eyes. They loved the ambassador. And when the ambassador steps aside, and the real, complex, nuanced, boundary-having individual steps forward, they don't recognize you. They feel betrayed. They say, "You've changed," and this is meant as an accusation. But you must learn to hear it as the highest compliment. Of course you have changed. You have stopped performing. You have stopped upholding your end of an unspoken bargain that required you to be less so they could feel more comfortable. Their departure is not a judgment on your worth. It is a sign that the play is over. It is like an actor who takes off his makeup and costume after a 5-year run in a famous play. He walks out of the stage door, and the fans who adored his character look right through him. They didn't love him. They loved the king, the fool, the hero he played on stage. The loneliness you feel is not the loneliness of abandonment. It is the vast, open, and at first terrifying solitude of the authentic self. It is the silence of a stage after the audience has gone home. And it is in this sacred empty space that you can finally begin to hear your own voice. You are not being rejected, you are being released. And in that release, you create the necessary vacuum for people to enter your life who are not looking for a character to fill a role, but for a real human being to connect with. They will be drawn not to your utility, but to your essence. These connections are fewer, but they are infinitely deeper. They are not based on transaction, but on resonance. The third, and perhaps most disorienting thing that happens, is a profound sense of inner drift. A kind of anxiety that feels like being lost at sea. For your entire life, your direction was set by external stars. The star of your parents' expectations, the star of your boss's approval, the star of your partner's happiness, the star of society's definition of success. You were an expert navigator of these external constellations. You knew how to tack and jibe your ship to catch the winds of validation. But when you choose yourself, you turn your gaze inward, and you realize, to your horror, that you do not know how to read your own compass. The needle spins wildly. What do I want? What do I enjoy? Who am I when no one is watching? These questions are terrifying because for decades they were irrelevant. The answer was always, I am what others need me to be. This new anxiety is not a sign that you are lost. It is the feeling of your own navigational system coming online for the first time. The spinning of the needle is the compass calibrating itself to your own true north, a north that is independent of anyone else's map. You will have to learn a new language, not the language of shoulds and oughts, but the quiet, subtle language of your own body, your own intuition. It speaks in feelings, not in logical proofs. It is the feeling of expansion in your chest when you think of one path, and the feeling of contraction and tightness when you think of another. It is the quiet yes that feels like warmth, and the silent no that feels like a cold stone in your stomach. For years, you have been taught to ignore this language, to push through the discomfort, to be reasonable, to override your gut feelings with spreadsheets of pros and cons. But your gut, your intuition, is a supercomputer that has been processing data about your own well-being your entire life. It knows things your conscious mind has been trained to ignore. This period of drift is a sacred pilgrimage. It requires you to be patient with your own not knowing. It demands that you sit in the uncertainty. Society despises a vacuum. It wants you to have a 5-year plan. It wants you to have an answer to the question, what do you do? But your soul requires a period of fallowness. You must be willing to be the empty field, to rest, to gather nutrients from the quiet earth of your own being before you can know what is meant to grow there. This is not indecisiveness. This is a deep and profound listening. You are not lost. You are finally, for the first time, waiting for directions from the only guide who has ever truly known the way home. And this leads to the fourth great shift. You begin to experience a new kind of emptiness. This is perhaps the most subtle and advanced stage of the process. After the guilt has been faced, after the audience has departed, after you've learned to tolerate the spinning of the inner compass, there comes a stillness, a quiet. The drama subsides. The constant low-grade emergency of managing other people's perceptions simply evaporates. And what is left is space. At first, this space feels like boredom or even depression. It is the "what now" feeling. You have spent your entire life as a firefighter, rushing from one blaze of another person's needs to the next. You were a crisis manager, a problem solver, an emotional support system. Your identity was forged in the crucible of your usefulness. And now, the fires are out. The phone isn't ringing with a new crisis, and the silence is deafening. You are like a soldier returning from a war that lasted 30 years. The adrenaline is gone. The clear sense of mission is gone. And in the peace of civilian life, you feel utterly, terrifyingly purposeless. You must understand what this space truly is. It is not the emptiness of lack. It is the emptiness of potential. It is the Zen concept of the empty cup, which is only useful because it is empty. Your life was a cup filled to the brim with the sludge of other people's expectations and demands. There was no room for anything of your own to be poured in. Now you have finally emptied the cup, and you are feeling the raw, naked vulnerability of that emptiness. You must resist with all your might the old temptation to immediately fill it up again, to find a new project, a new person to fix, a new drama to distract you from the vastness of your own inner world. This is your invitation to simply be, to sit with yourself, to discover what you enjoy when there is no one to perform for. Maybe it's watching the way the light hits a wall in the afternoon. Maybe it's the taste of a particular kind of tea. Maybe it's listening to a piece of music and letting it wash over you without the need to name the composer or have an opinion on it. These are not small things. They are everything. They are the texture of a life lived from the inside out. This is not boredom. It is presence. It is the end of the addiction to external validation and the beginning of the quiet, self-sustaining joy of your own existence. You are learning to be your own companion and discovering, perhaps to your great surprise, that you are actually very good company. And in the end, after you move through these stages, something miraculous happens. A new reality begins to crystallize. It is a reality characterized not by a frantic, grasping happiness, but by a deep, abiding peace, a solidity. You begin to walk through the world with a different kind of gravity. You are anchored in yourself. The opinions of others, which once felt like violent storms that could capsize your ship,
now feel like mere weather. You can notice them. It seems to be raining disapproval today, but they do not throw you off course, because you are the ship, the captain, and the compass all in one. There is a slowing down of life. The frantic need to prove, to achieve, to become is replaced by a simple desire to be, to experience, to connect. Your energy, which was once hemorrhaging out in 1,000 different directions, trying to please 1,000 different people, is now contained. It is yours, and you find you have more of it than you ever imagined. You can now give to others,
but you do so from a place of genuine abundance, not from a place of desperate need to be liked. You give from your overflow, not from your essence, and the giving feels completely different. It is joyful, not resentful. It is a choice, not an obligation. A new kind of loneliness may remain, but it is transformed. It is not the aching void of the unloved child. It is the dignified solitude of the mountain. The mountain is not lonely. It is simply itself. It stands in its own magnificent presence, and those who are willing to make the climb are rewarded with a spectacular view. You become a destination, not a doormat. You realize that true intimacy is not about merging with another person, but about two sovereign beings choosing to walk side by side, each honoring the sacred space between them. So the next time you feel that old, familiar pull, the urge to say yes when your whole body is screaming no, the flash of fear that you are about to disappoint someone, the wave of guilt for simply wanting a moment to yourself, don't fight it. Don't condemn yourself for it. Just notice it. See it for what it is. It is a ghost, a memory of an old program, an echo from a play that has long since ended. Smile at it with the compassion of a sage looking at a confused child. Thank it for trying to keep you safe for so long. And then, gently, deliberately, with the quiet power that now resides in the very center of your being, choose yourself again, and again, and again. Because in choosing yourself, you are not abandoning the world. You are finally, for the first time, offering it the only gift you ever truly had to give, your own real, magnificent, and unapologetic self.